The alien city of Zerulon never slept. Lights blinked like stars trapped in cages. Smoke floated through the streets, filled with strange smells and stranger creatures. Humans were not welcome here. But Jack was never good at following rules. He wore a dark coat, hood up. Walking through the crowded alien market, his boots splashed through glowing puddles. Eyes followed him, big, glowing, suspicious. He didn't care. He had something rare, something precious to the aliens. A bottle of whiskey from Earth, real, aged and sealed. And he was about to make a deal that would change his life forever. Jack stopped at a corner stall made of bone and metal. The seller hissed and waved him away. "No humans," the creature growled. But Jack just smiled. "I'm not selling myself," he said, pulling out the whiskey bottle wrapped in cloth. "I'm selling a taste of Earth." The seller's eyes widened, then narrowed before he could speak. A soft but commanding voice spoke behind Jack. "I'll take it," she said. Jack turned and froze. She was tall, alien, elegant. Her skin shimmered like silver and her eyes glowed like moonlight. Long black robes flowed around her like liquid shadow. She was beautiful and terrifying. Her name was Lady Varel, and her presence silenced the whole market. "You don't even know the price," Jack said, trying to sound calm. "I know," she replied, touching the bottle gently. "It's not about the drink. It's about the memories it holds." Jack blinked, confused. She smiled, sharp and slow. "Come with me." "Human," she said. "I'll give you more than money." Something about her voice made Jack follow. Through winding alleys, past guards who bowed without question, until they reached a floating palace hidden behind thick fog. Inside, it was quiet and strange. The walls were alive, pulsing softly. Lights glowed from floating crystals. Jack felt like he had walked into a dream or a trap. Lady Varel led him to a high chamber where 3 young women stood waiting. They were not fully like her each. One was different. One had skin like polished stone and eyes that read everything. Another was tall and powerful, with fire in her voice. The third was gentle, smiling softly, her presence like calm rain. "These are my daughters," Lady Varel said. "They have no father, no bond." She looked at the whiskey bottle and then at Jack. "Until now." Jack laughed nervously. "Wait, what?" "I just sold you a drink. You offered more than that," she said, her eyes narrowing. "Earth whiskey contains genetic memory traces." Jack's heart pounded. "What does that mean?" "It means," she said, walking closer, "you are now linked to us through an ancient bond. Older than your world." The daughters moved closer. Surrounding him, Jack stepped back. "This is crazy," he whispered. The gentle daughter spoke. "We've waited long for this. The ritual is complete." He looked at Lady Varel. "What if I say no?" She smiled. "You already said yes when you entered the market with the whiskey. You walked into an old agreement." Jack felt a strange warmth rising in his body. His skin tingled, his heart raced. "What's happening to me?" "You're changing," said the stone-eyed daughter. "You are becoming one of us." Jack stumbled back into a chair, his hands shaking. This wasn't a deal anymore. It was a trap. And now he belonged to a family of alien women who had chosen him not for love, but for something much bigger. Lady Varel turned to leave. "Rest now, Jack," she said. "Tomorrow, your new life begins." The daughters stayed in the room, watching him, studying him. And somewhere deep inside, Jack knew he had just sold a bottle of whiskey and bought himself a future he couldn't escape. The floating mansion above Zerulon wasn't just a building. It was alive. Jack could feel it breathing walls, pulsing like veins, floors humming like a heartbeat. He didn't sleep that night, not because he wasn't tired, but because he didn't dare close his eyes. The room they gave him had no door, only shifting energy fields that faded when the daughters walked in. And they did. all night, one by one, watching, asking strange questions. Do humans dream? Ask the one with stone-gray skin, are you soft all the time? Ask the tall, fierce one, flexing her glowing claws. Do you miss your mother? Asked the gentle one, quietly, sitting near his bed. Jack answered carefully. He didn't know what they wanted. Each question felt like a test. Each looked like a calculation. He felt less like a guest stand, more like a prisoner on display. The next morning, Lady Virel called him to the sun chamber, a high circular room where light poured in through floating crystal windows. The view outside showed a storm raging far below the mansion. Lightning danced across the city like dragons. Made of fire, she stood near a control orb that floated in midair. Sit, she said, and Jack obeyed. He had no choice. Every word she spoke felt like a command in his blood. You may think you're still human, she said, but the whiskey bond changed you. Jack frowned. How? It opened your genetic code, made you compatible with what? He asked. With my daughters, she said simply. Jack's heart sank. He looked at her elegant, ancient, powerful. He knew she was playing a long game, but he didn't know the rules. You brought Earth to us, she continued, and Earth is now part of this family. Jack stood up, angry. I never agreed to this, but you did. She replied, turning slowly. Your gift was sacred. Your presence unlocked ancient tech. The mansion accepted you, as if to prove it. The orb near her hand glowed and formed Jack's face in shimmering light. You're now registered, she added. As resident and partner, Jack backed away. But the wall behind him shifted, trapping him between glowing patterns. The tall daughter appeared beside him. She's not lying, she said, crossing her arms. I checked the mansion's core myself. Jack turned to her. What do you want from me? She tilted her head, her eyes unreadable. Maybe protection, maybe power, maybe just a new experience. Later that day, the gentle daughter took him on a walk through the mansion. Her name was Leia, and she moved like windsoft, but always present. This place listens, she whispered. The walls hear your voice. The lights follow your mood, and the floors shift with your thoughts. Jack stared at the walls. Were they alive, or was he going crazy? She pointed to a glowing vine curling around a pillar. That's the heart root. It feeds on energy from the bonded. Like me? He asked. She nodded. That vine hasn't bloomed in over a century, but last night it did. He stopped walking. I'm not ready for this, he said. Leia looked at him with soft, sad eyes. No one ever is, she whispered. Later. He wandered alone and entered a locked chamber that strangely opened for him. Inside was a room full of old Earth objects books, a rusted telescope, a cracked music box. His hand trembled as he picked up a small Earth flag. Lady Virel entered. Silently behind him, this belonged to the last human, she said. Jack turned slowly. There was another. She nodded. He didn't last long. Jack's skin turned cold. What happened to him? He broke the bond, she said, her voice hollow. And the mansion rejected him. The floor beneath his feet suddenly felt less solid. The shadows on the walls seemed to move. I don't want this, Jack whispered. Doesn't matter. She replied, you're part of it now. That night, Jack sat on his bed, staring at his hands. They were still human, but something inside him wasn't. The tall daughter entered without a word, sat across from him and studied his face. What? Do you see when you look at me? She asked. Jack answered honestly. Danger. She smiled for the first time. Good, she said. Then maybe you'll survive. As she left, Jack heard the walls hum louder. He looked at the glowing vine by his bed, had bloomed again. Bright blue, pulsing with energy. Jack closed his eyes. He had come to sell a bottle of whiskey. Now he was in a living mansion, tied to alien sisters. Caught in a trap, wrapped in silken mystery, and tomorrow he'd find out what the next bond meant. Jack woke up to the sound of soft whispers. The walls of the mansion were glowing brighter than usual. He sat up slowly, eyes still adjusting. The glowing vine near his bed now had 3 blossoms. One for each daughter. It was growing fast, too. Fast Leia entered first, the gentle daughter. She carried a tray of food that looked half Phalian, half Earth. "You need to eat," she said, her voice calm. Jack looked at her, unsure. "I don't trust anything here," he muttered. She set the tray down and smiled softly. "You shouldn't." Before he could ask more, the stone-skinned daughter walked in. Her name was Zara. She held a silver data tablet and looked serious as always. "Lady Virel wants to see you in the Hall of Silence," she said. Jack raised an eyebrow. "That doesn't sound like a fun place." "It's not," Zara replied, "but nothing here is." Jack followed her down the twisting halls, his steps echoing on the smooth, humming floors. He had started to feel different, stronger, lighter, faster. The mansion was doing something to him, even when he didn't want it to. When they entered the Hall of Silence, Lady Virel stood at the center on a raised platform. Behind her floated 3 golden orbs, each pulsing with slow energy. She didn't turn when she spoke. "You brought Earth into this house, Jack, and Earth brought change." Jack frowned. "What kind of change?" She turned slowly, her silver eyes shining. "Power," she said, "and legacy," she gestured. And one orb floated toward Jack. Inside, he saw a map, galaxies, planets, battle routes. And one name highlighted: Earth. "Your world is small," Virel said, "but unique. It carries memories in liquid, power in stories, and magic in something as simple as whiskey." Jack stared. "You don't want a husband," he said slowly. "You want an ambassador." She smiled. "Even better. I want a symbol, someone the universe will pay attention to." Zara stepped forward. "She wants to use the bond to rebuild her noble rank." "We're not just daughters," she added. "We're her tools." Jack looked at them both. "And what am I?" Virel answered, "You're the match that lights the fire." Jack backed away. "This is insane." "I just sold a drink." "Yes," Virel nodded. "A sacred one." "The bottle you brought triggered an old code in the mansion. It recognized human essence, unlocked old permissions." She walked closer, her steps slow and graceful. "Our ancestors once allied with humans. Before your species forgot us, you've returned. And now our history restarts." Jack tried to keep calm, but his mind raced. "I'm not part of any ancient story. I'm just a guy trying to survive." "And now," Zara said coldly, "your survival depends on playing your part, Jack." Looked around the room, at the floating orbs, at the glowing walls. "This place is alive," he said. "It's watching everything." Virel nodded. "The mansion is a living relic. It chooses its master, and now it has chosen you." That night, Jack wandered to the west wing of the mansion. He found himself outside a sealed room, pulsing with red light. He touched the door, and it opened. Inside was a laboratory, filled with preserved relics and bones, human bones. His stomach turned in the far corner. A metal plaque read, "Project Husbando 1." A photo was attached. It showed a human man, smiling, holding a bottle of whiskey. Jack's blood ran cold. He wasn't the first. A soft voice spoke behind him. "You found him." It was Zara. She walked beside him and looked at the picture. That was Darren. He thought he was special too. Jack turned to her. "What happened to him?" "He resisted," she said, "and the mansion rejected him. He broke the bond, and his body changed." Jack stared at the bones. "What kind of place is this?" "A prison," Zara said. "A temple," she added. "Depends who you ask." He walked out, shaken. The gentle daughter, Leia, waited outside. "I warned you," she whispered. "Then help me leave." Jack said. I can't, she whispered. Not yet. Later, he confronted Lady Varel again. Why me? He asked. Because Earth is rising, she said, and I need someone who speaks both worlds. I'm not your puppet, Jack snapped. She looked at him with pity. You already drank from the bond. Jack, you're part of the story. Now, whether you want it or not, as Jack returned to his chamber, the vine had grown again. Now it had wrapped around the room, glowing, alive. Each petal pulsed with energy, calling to him. Jack sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the stars beyond the crystal wall. He knew the truth now. Lady Varel didn't want love. She wanted control, and she had just made him the key to it all. Jack couldn't sleep anymore. Every night he woke up sweating, his dreams filled with strange voices and shifting faces. Sometimes he saw Earth burning. Other times, he saw himself wearing robes like Varel's. Standing before armies of aliens, he didn't understand the visions. But the mansion seemed to feed on them. The bond was changing him. Not just in his thoughts, but in his body. He could read symbols on the glowing walls now. He could hear the soft hum of the mansion like a whisper inside his mind. Each of the daughters had started acting differently toward him. Zara, the stone-skinned one, no longer watched him coldly. Now she tested him. She brought ancient tech. Asked him to solve alien puzzles. You think like us, she said once, and that's dangerous. The tall daughter, named Vexa, grew more aggressive. She took him to the arena deck. Challenged him to fight. She laughed when he lost, but always helped him stand again. You're weak, she said, but you learn fast. Leia remained kind, maybe too kind. She brought him tea that glowed green and music that echoed like wind. But when he asked about the old human, Darren, she went silent. She never answered. Questions about the past. One morning, Jack stood in the garden dome, a place that floated above the mansion's core. Blue vines wrapped around glass trees, and birds with crystal wings flew above. He felt peace here, but even that peace came with a price. The bond inside him pulsed, matching the rhythm of the mansion. Lady Varel joined him, her robes trailing behind her like smoke. You feel it now, she said. Jack didn't reply. The mansion is calling you, she added. It wants you to choose. Choose what? He asked. She looked at the sky. My time is ending, she whispered. One of them must lead with you. Jack turned sharply. What do you mean? One daughter must bond fully, she said. The mansion will only accept unity, Jack's heart dropped. You want me to marry one of them? Yes, she replied, and only one. The others will lose their right to the throne. That night, the tension exploded. Zara found Jack in the tech chamber and demanded answers. Are you going to pick her? She asked. Pick who? Jack said. Confused Leia, Zara growled. She's been softening you since day one. Before he could reply, Vexa burst into the room. She thinks she's the smartest, but she won't protect you. I will, she said firmly. I'll fight for you. And for Earth, Leia entered last. Her voice calm, but her eyes filled with fear. This isn't what the bond is meant for, she whispered. It's not about power. It's about harmony. The three sisters stood in a triangle, all looking at him. Jack felt like his chest was splitting. The bond twisted inside him, pulling in three directions. He dropped to his knees, gasping. Lights in the mansion flickered. The floors trembled. You're tearing it apart, Zara shouted. No, Leia cried. It's reacting to his pain. Lady Varel appeared in a flash of light. Enough. She commanded. The mansion calmed. The walls went still. Jack lay on the floor, breathing hard. Later, Varel sat with him in the healing chamber. You must understand, she said gently. This place is ancient. It only survives through balance. If you don't choose soon, the bond will break you. Jack looked at her, his voice weak. What happens if I choose no one? Varel's expression darkened. Then the mansion chooses for you, that night. Jack saw the vine in his room twist violently. It split into 3 branches, each one glowing in a different color: gray for Zara, red for Vexa, blue for Leia. He touched the blue wand and the other 2 hissed, pulling away. Was this his choice or a trick? In the following days, the daughters stopped visiting. Each stayed in her own wing. Preparing in silence, the mansion grew cold, distant. Jack could feel it watching, waiting on the 7th night. The floor beneath his bed cracked open, revealing a spiral staircase. He followed it down into the roots of the mansion. There, he found a room with glowing walls and ancient carvings. At the center stood a crystal altar, and inside its 3 glowing hearts. Each heart pulsed in sync with his own. He reached out. But the altar flashed red. A voice filled the chamber. Only unity may unlock the bond. Jack stumbled back. Unity? But they were fighting. They hated each other now. He realized the truth: the real bond wasn't about love, or marriage, or power. It was about bringing them together. And if he failed, the mansion would fall, and so would he. Jack didn't wait. He had to leave. He had seen too much: the ancient chamber. The glowing hearts, the sisters turning against each other. The bond wasn't sacred anymore. It was dangerous, alive, and waiting to consume him. That night, he, dressed in a cloak made from the mansion's silk walls. It changed color as he moved, hiding him from the security watchers. He took a path Zara once showed him. One, she claimed, was for emergencies only. It led through dark tunnels beneath the core, where the floor sweated and the air smelled like burned metal. Leia was waiting at the end of the tunnel. She wore a soft expression, but her eyes looked heavy. "You're leaving," she said quietly. "I have to," Jack replied. "This isn't about love or unity. It's about control." She looked down. "I warned you," she whispered. "You told me the bond was dangerous," he said. "But you didn't tell me I could die if I refused it." Her voice cracked. "I thought I could protect you." "You're not protecting me," he said. "You're keeping me here like the rest of them." He turned to go. That's when he heard it, a soft chirp from behind. He turned around. Dan saw Leia holding a small device, glowing red. "It's a tracker," she admitted. "I can't let you go." Jack stared at her, betrayed. "You tricked me. I had no choice," she said. "If you escape, the bond collapses, and we all suffer." Suddenly, the ground shook violently. A siren echoed through the walls. The mansion roared. Jack didn't wait. He ran. Through the corridor. Past flashing lights and angry alarms, he could hear Leia yelling after him. "Jack, please." He didn't stop, not this time. He reached a hangar bay filled with old alien ships. Rusted and silent. One had human writing on the side. Project Husband 03. He climbed inside, hands trembling. The controls lit up automatically. The ship remembered him. He had been here before. Maybe in his dreams, maybe from the bond. The engines roared to life. But then the door opened and Vexa stood there, her eyes burning. "You're stealing a royal vessel," she growled. "Get out of the way," Jack warned. "You're going to die," she said, stepping forward. "Not today," he replied. She jumped onto the ship, claws raised. Jack dodged, grabbed a stun rod from the wall, and struck back. They fought in the tight space. Sparks flew. Wires snapped. Smoke filled the room. "You think you're different from the others," she yelled. "I believed in you. I didn't ask you to," he shouted back. "I just wanted to survive." He managed to throw her off the ship. The door closed, locking him in. He slammed the launch button. The floor opened beneath the ship, and it dropped into the fire of the city sky. Outside, sirens screamed. The mansion had activated its defense system. Laser drones chased him through the clouds. One blast hit the engine, and the ship spun out of control. Jack gritted his teeth and pulled hard on the manual controls. He aimed for the river below. The ship crashed, water exploding around it. Steam hissed, metal groaned. But he was alive, for now. He crawled out of the wreck, coughing, soaked, around him. Alien towers glowed red. Zeralon's skies were filled with patrol ships looking for him. Jack stumbled into the shadows, heart racing. He found a small cave near the water's edge. There, he collapsed, body shaking. The bond pulsed inside him like a wound. He clutched his chest. It hurts more than before. The farther he got from the mansion, the more it tried to pull him back. Then a voice echoed in his mind. "You are mine, Jack." It was Lady Varel. She wasn't shouting. She was whispering inside his head. "The bond is incomplete," she said. "You will die before you escape," he screamed and punched the stone wall. Blood smeared his hand. But he didn't stop. "I'm not yours," he growled. "You don't own me." Outside, the rain fell hard. Inside, Jack's mind burned. He knew this wasn't over. Varel wouldn't let him go. Neither would the mansion. Somewhere deep inside, the bond was changing, twisting, resisting, growing. Jack didn't just need to survive now. He needed to take control, and if that meant burning down the mansion, so be it. Asterisk, the mansion was no longer silent. It groaned with pressure, like something alive and wounded. Cracks spread through its floating floors. Vines glowed brighter, twisting around the walls like angry. Roots, the bond that held everything together, was no longer stable, and it was because Jack had run. Inside the core chamber, Lady Varel stood in the center. Her eyes closed, her arms raised. She was speaking to the mansion, trying to calm it, but it didn't listen anymore. It needed unity, and unity was breaking apart in the West Wing. Zara pounded her fists against the crystal table. "Where is he?" She shouted. Her voice echoed through the empty corridors. "He betrayed the bond." Vexa leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "You're just mad because you thought he'd choose you." Zara glared at her. "I thought he had sense. I thought he cared about purpose." "He doesn't," Vexa growled. "He cares about freedom." Leia entered quietly, holding a torn piece of Jack's cloak. "He was scared," she said softly. "We cornered him." Vexa rolled her eyes. "You let him go. You tracked him and still lost him." Zara added coldly. The sisters stood in silence, each filled with blame, anger, and confusion. Once, they were raised to act as one. Now, they were breaking apart. Just like the mansion, Zara turned away, her voice sharp. "If he comes back, I'll question him. I'll break him," Vexa added, her claws twitching. Leia held the cloth tighter. "No," she whispered. "I'll protect him." Vexa stepped forward. "You still think he cares for you?" "He came to me first," Leia said, her voice shaking. "And you betrayed him?" Zara snapped. "You activated the tracker." "I didn't want him to die," Leia cried. "You just wanted him for yourself." Vexa growled. "Just admit it." The argument exploded. Walls flashed red. Alarms wailed. Vines whipped across ceilings. The mansion responded to their emotions, anger, jealousy, heartbreak. All of it burned through its veins. In the sky above Zeralon, Jack watched from an old observation tower. He had climbed far to get away from the patrols, but something inside him pulled toward the mansion. Not just pain, but connection. He saw flashes, felt emotions that weren't his. Leia's sadness, Vex's rage, Zara's cold betrayal. It was like their minds were still touching his. Even across the sky, the bond hadn't broken, it had. Spread, Jack gripped the railing. If they destroy each other, the mansion dies. He whispered, "And so do I." Back at the mansion, the sisters separated into their own chambers. Zara shut herself in the library, scanning through old human records. She wanted to understand Jack's past, his patterns, his logic, She wasn't letting go. Vexa locked herself in the combat dome, fighting training bots until sparks filled. The air, every strike was a question. Every dodge was frustration. Why did he run? Why didn't he fight for her? Leia went to the old Earth garden. She sat beside the whiskey vine, the same one that bloomed when Jack arrived. Now it was dying. Its petals were falling, color fading. She touched it gently. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never wanted this." Suddenly, the ground shook. The mansion let out a loud groan. Lights flickered, walls split slightly, and a soft, robotic voice spoke. "Bond threshold below. Stability. System failure imminent." The sisters were summoned to the throne room by the mansion itself. They arrived silently, avoiding each other's eyes. Lady Varel stood before the throne, weaker than before. Her silver skin was dull. Her hands trembling. "The mansion is dying," she said, "and so am I." No one spoke. She looked at each daughter. "You were meant to bond with him, not battle over him. You have broken the sacred path." Zara's voice cracked. "He ran from us, you chased him." Leia said, "You both pressured him." Vexa snapped, "Enough." Virel whispered. She raised her hand, and a map of the galaxy appeared above them. Earth was glowing, blinking fast. "He still lives," she said, "but for how long?" The sisters looked at each other. Their bond was broken, but something deeper remained. If Jack died, they all died. The mansion would collapse, and their purpose would vanish. "We have to find him," Leia said. "Together." Vexa hesitated, then nodded. "I'll bring the ship." Zara finally spoke. "We find him, or we fall." Above them, the mansion creaked again. It was waiting, hoping, dying. And far across the city, Jack stood on a rooftop, his hand glowing faintly blue, pulsing in rhythm with the broken hearts of the daughters. He didn't know if they would come, but if they did, he was ready not to return as a prisoner, but as the one who would decide everything. Jack stood on the rooftop of the crumbling tower. The wind rushed past his face, carrying dust, smoke, and memories. He could feel the mansion calling to him again, but this time he didn't flinch. He was done running. Below Zeralon's skyline, lit up with warning beacons, the mansion was losing power. The vines were dying, and the skies above it were cracked like shattered glass. The bond inside Jack had changed. It wasn't just pulling him toward the sisters. It was giving him something. Strength, clarity, purpose. A ship appeared in the sky, fast and low. It was Vex's combat cruiser. Dark and silent, it hovered near the rooftop, its side doors sliding open with a soft hiss. Inside stood all three daughters. Zara, arms folded, eyes cold but focused. Vexa, still armored but without anger in her face. Leia, holding a glowing orb, her fingers shaking. Jack stepped forward slowly. "I didn't expect all three of you," he said. "We almost didn't come," Vexa replied. "But we had no choice," Zara added. Leia looked at him and whispered, "We're dying without you." He entered the ship, the doors sealed behind him. The flight back to the mansion was silent. Each of them lost in thought, but the bond between them pulsed again. It hadn't vanished, had simply paused, waiting. As they landed on the mansion's outer ring, they were met with silence. No lights, no hums, no guards. Just flickering walls and the sound of things falling apart. Lady Varel sat on the throne, pale and fading. The vines behind her were almost black. "You came back," she whispered to Jack. "I had to," he replied. "This place still wants something from me." She nodded weakly. "It wants unity or destruction." Her voice cracked. "You must finish the bond. One path, one heart." Jack looked at the sisters. Each one had shown him something different. Zara had challenged his mind. Vexa had pushed his strength. Leia had touched his heart. "I can't choose one," Jack said. because choosing one means destroying the others. Vexa stepped forward. We were raised to compete, not to share. But maybe that's the mistake, Leia added. Zara frowned. The mansion was built on balance, not rivalry. Jack turned to the glowing altar at the center of the throne room. Inside it were the three hearts again, pulsing faintly. I have an idea, he said. But it's not what the system expects. He placed his hand on the altar. The orb glowed, rejecting him. Only one bond may complete, it said. Jack smiled. Slightly, then I'll rewrite the rules. He reached with both hands, one to Leia. One to Zara. Vexa stepped forward and grabbed his shoulder. Together, the four of them touched the altar. The room exploded in light. The mansion shook. Walls cracked. A storm of energy poured through every chamber. Screams of old voices filled the air. And then silence. When Jack opened his eyes, he was standing inside a chamber of stars. It wasn't real, but it felt more real than anything. The daughters were beside him, dressed in new robes, glowing. Lady Varel appeared as a flicker of light. You broke the system, she whispered. You ended the war between choice and sacrifice. The hearts merged into one, glowing bright. The mansion's roots surged with power again. It was alive. Truly alive, they returned to the throne room. The vines bloomed with gold and blue petals. The walls hummed a new tune, outside. The skies of Zeralon cleared. Jack stood before the sisters. I don't want to be king, he said. And I'm not a husband to own or control. Zara stepped forward. Then be what you are. The bridge, Leia whispered. The change, Vexa finished. Lady Varel, now fading fully into light, nodded. You are not a prisoner, she said. You are the first of a new path. As she disappeared, the throne split into three parts, one for each daughter. Jack stepped back, no longer the center, but the spark that lit their rise. The people of Zeralon would soon learn a new story, not about a man who married three daughters, but about a man who challenged an empire with a bottle of whiskey and refused to play by its rules. Jack walked out onto the balcony. The wind blew. Softly, behind him, the sisters sat on their thrones. Not rivals, not enemies, but leaders and Jack. Not a husband of three, not a master of none, but something far more dangerous, free.